Welcome back to Empowerment Library, your trusted source for transformative book wisdom. Here, we dive into powerful books that help you build better habits, gain clarity, and move closer to financial and personal freedom. In our last video, we explored Deep Work by Cal Newport, a guide to mastering focus in a world full of distractions. Today, we're shifting the spotlight to Tiny Habits by BJ Fogg, a groundbreaking book that shows how small, consistent actions can lead to lasting change. If you're ready to reclaim your time, rewire your behavior, and take control of your life one small step at a time, you're in the right place. Let's dive in.
Introduction. Tiny Habits by BJ Fogg is a groundbreaking book that shows how small changes can lead to big results. Rather than relying on motivation or willpower, Fogg teaches readers to create new habits by starting tiny, so small they're almost effortless. The key is to anchor these habits to existing routines, like brushing your teeth or making coffee. He emphasizes the power of celebrating immediately after a habit to create positive emotion, which helps the habit stick. Over time, these tiny actions grow naturally into lasting behavior change. Fogg's method is practical, science-based, and surprisingly easy to implement. Tiny Habits offers a simple yet powerful way to redesign your life, one small step at a time.
Part 1. The Foundation, Understanding Behavior. Part 1 of Tiny Habits lays the essential groundwork for understanding how real, lasting behavior change actually happens. BJ Fogg, a Stanford behavior scientist, challenges the traditional view that changing your life requires extraordinary effort, discipline, or massive motivation. He explains that these conventional methods often fail because they rely too heavily on willpower, which is unreliable and inconsistent. Instead, Fogg presents a science-based framework grounded in his behavior model. Behavior occurs when motivation, ability, and a prompt happen at the same moment. If any one of these elements is missing, the behavior won't happen. This first part of the book reframes how we think about self-improvement, shifting from a mindset of pressure and perfection to one of simplicity, joy, and success through small, deliberate steps. It introduces a refreshing approach that makes personal growth feel achievable, even for those who've struggled in the past. Chapter 1. The Small Changes That Change Everything. In this opening chapter, Fogg introduces the powerful idea that tiny changes, not big efforts, lead to transformation. Drawing from his own experience of burnout and frustration, he shares how adopting small, easy habits helped him regain control over his life. Rather than pushing himself to make dramatic changes, he focused on habits so small they were almost effortless, like doing 2 push-ups after using the bathroom or flossing just one tooth. He found that these tiny actions, when tied to existing routines, grew naturally over time. The chapter encourages readers to let go of the all-or-nothing mindset and embrace the philosophy of go tiny and win big. These micro-successes create a sense of momentum, boosting confidence and motivation along the way. Fogg emphasizes that when habits feel good and are easy to do, they become automatic and long-lasting. This chapter redefines what it means to succeed, showing that even the smallest wins can lead to significant, lasting change. Chapter 2. Why Behavior Change is Hard, and What to Do About It. In this chapter, Fogg dives into why so many attempts at self-improvement fail, and what you can do differently. He explains that behavior change isn't hard because people are lazy or lack discipline, but because traditional methods rely too much on motivation, which is inherently unstable. Fogg introduces his behavior model, B=MAP behavior equals motivation plus ability plus prompt. This means that for any behavior to occur, all 3 elements must be present at the same time. If a task is too hard, low ability, or there's no clear trigger, no prompt, the behavior won't stick, even if motivation is high. He emphasizes that making habits easier and designing them to fit seamlessly into your day is far more effective than trying to push through with willpower. The chapter also debunks common myths, like the idea that repetition alone forms habits or that self-control is the key to success. Fogg's insight is clear: you don't need to be more disciplined, you just need a better system. By understanding these psychological principles, readers can begin crafting habits that naturally work with their environment and emotional energy, setting themselves up for success from the start.
Part 2. The Method, Designing Tiny Habits. Part 2 of Tiny Habits dives into the practical mechanics of habit formation, teaching readers how to build lasting behaviors by starting small and anchoring them to the routines they already have. BJ Fogg emphasizes that simplicity and emotional positivity, not willpower or motivation, are the real drivers behind successful habits. Rather than striving for perfection or major transformation overnight, Fogg guides readers through a system that feels effortless, joyful, and sustainable. The key insight here is that tiny habits, when designed well, grow naturally over time, leading to big life changes without struggle. This section equips you with a toolkit to craft behaviors that are easy to start, rewarding to perform, and seamlessly embedded in your daily life. Chapter 3. Anchor new habits to tiny behaviors. In this chapter, Fogg introduces the powerful concept of anchor moments, existing actions in your daily routine that serve as reliable triggers for new habits. Instead of trying to remember to floss, exercise, or meditate randomly, you simply tie the new behavior to something you already do, like brushing your teeth or boiling water for tea. For example, after I brush my teeth, I will floss one tooth, or after I pour my coffee, I will take 3 deep breaths. The anchor must be something consistent, specific, and already part of your day, which makes remembering your new habit nearly automatic. Fogg stresses that the new habit should feel like a natural extension of the anchor behavior. This method removes the need for motivation and reduces mental strain by embedding change into your existing routines. By choosing the right anchors, you create a low-friction path to success, a system that runs almost on autopilot. Chapter 4. Emotions create habits. Fogg turns traditional habit advice on its head in this chapter by declaring that positive emotion, not repetition, is what makes habits stick. He explains that every time you celebrate a habit, no matter how tiny, you send a powerful message to your brain. That felt good. Let's do it again. This immediate reward strengthens the neural pathways associated with the behavior, making it more likely to happen in the future. Whether it's a quick fist pump, a big smile, a verbal yes, or just a spark of pride, celebration acts as emotional superglue. It makes the habit not just doable but desirable. Fogg contrasts this with traditional views that emphasize discipline, grit, and external rewards. He encourages readers to stop chasing motivation and instead create a joyful association with the behavior itself. This chapter redefines the role of emotion in behavior change, showing how feelings of success, even in small ways, can trigger real transformation. Chapter 5. The Anatomy of Tiny Habits. Here, Fogg breaks down the essential structure of what makes a tiny habit truly work. He defines it as a very small, specific action that takes minimal time, doesn't rely on motivation, and is anchored to something stable. The formula is simple but powerful. Anchor plus tiny behavior plus celebration equals habit formation. For example, after I set my phone on my desk, anchor, I will open my to-do list, tiny behavior, and I'll say, I'm getting things done. Celebration. The beauty of this structure is its simplicity. Fogg explains that starting small removes resistance, allowing you to build momentum through immediate success. Tiny habits are not about hitting huge goals in one leap. They're about lowering the bar so you can show up consistently. Over time, these habits expand naturally as confidence grows. You may start with one push-up and weeks later you're doing a full workout, not because you forced it but because the habit grew organically. This chapter reinforces that tiny is mighty, and the best way to create sustainable change is through clear design, emotional reward, and realistic expectations.
Part 3. Expansion, Growing and Strengthening Habits. In Part 3, BJ Fogg shifts the focus from habit formation to habit expansion. This section shows how small behaviors, once rooted in daily routines, can organically grow into larger, more transformative patterns, without force, stress, or perfectionism. Fogg reassures readers that lasting change isn't about intensity, it's about consistency. He emphasizes that success breeds success. As you feel more capable through tiny wins, your habits naturally evolve. Rather than pushing yourself to do more, you begin to want to do more. Through thoughtful design, emotional celebration, and mindful tweaks, you move from small improvements to meaningful lifestyle shifts, gracefully, not forcefully. Chapter 6. Growing Habits and Creating Recipes. In this chapter, Fogg introduces the idea that habits are not fixed routines, they're living systems that can grow and adapt. He explains how to build habit recipes, simple blueprints made up of 3 parts: an anchor, a reliable cue, a tiny behavior, the habit, and a celebration, emotional reinforcement. These recipes allow your habits to fit neatly into your life, rather than being awkward or disruptive. The genius of habit recipes lies in their flexibility. You aren't locked into a rigid formula. You can tweak the anchor, change the behavior, or experiment with celebrations to find what feels most natural. As you repeat your recipe, it may evolve.
1 push-up becomes 10.
1 breath becomes a minute of mindfulness. Growth isn't forced, it's invited. Fogg also encourages readers to think of habit building as a creative process. You're not just following a plan, you're designing a lifestyle that supports who you want to become. The chapter offers inspiring stories of real people who started with tiny changes and ended up transforming their health, relationships, and careers. Chapter 7: Untangling Bad Habits and Creating Change. This chapter takes a compassionate look at unwanted behaviors and how to change them, not by battling them head-on, but by disarming them gently. Fogg introduces the metaphor of untangling bad habits rather than breaking them. This language shift removes shame and blame, helping readers approach change with curiosity and kindness. Instead of focusing on willpower or guilt, Fogg encourages environmental design. If a habit is tied to a cue, like checking your phone when bored, you can change the cue or make the behavior harder to do. Removing triggers, adding friction, or inserting a tiny positive action in place of the old one are all powerful strategies. He also discusses the value of self-compassion. You don't need to be perfect or punish yourself to improve. You simply need to create space for better options. Over time, the unwanted habits fade, not because you've wrestled them into submission, but because you've outgrown them. This chapter gives hope to anyone who's struggled with negative patterns. Fogg shows that lasting change comes from designing a better path, not walking a harder one. Chapter 8: The Power of Celebration. In the final chapter of this section, Fogg returns to one of the most underrated yet vital aspects of behavior change: celebration. He reaffirms that emotion, not repetition, is what encodes habits in the brain. When you feel good immediately after doing a habit, you create a powerful reward loop that makes your brain crave the action again. Fogg provides a variety of ways to celebrate, from physical gestures, fist pumps, smiles, to verbal affirmations, "I nailed it." What matters most is that the celebration feels authentic and sparks a genuine sense of success. Even tiny wins, like opening a journal or stretching for 5 seconds, deserve celebration. He argues that we've been trained to see behavior change as serious, hard, and even painful. But this mindset actually undermines progress. When habit formation becomes joyful and emotionally rewarding, it becomes sustainable. Celebration is not just a feel-good add-on, it's the secret weapon of transformation. It turns effort into energy, repetition into ritual, and action into identity.
Part 4: Mastery, Troubleshooting, and Lifestyle Integration. In the final section of Tiny Habits, BJ Fogg brings the journey full circle by focusing on how to maintain, refine, and scale your habits over the long haul. While earlier parts focused on how to build habits, this section dives into what to do when things go wrong, because real life is messy. Whether it's a disrupted routine, lost motivation, or just a sense that things aren't working anymore, Fogg reassures you that it's all part of the process. The secret to mastery isn't perfection, it's graceful recovery. By learning to troubleshoot with self-compassion and tweak your system intelligently, you transform your habits from experiments into a lifestyle that adapts and endures. Chapter 9: Troubleshooting Your Habits. This chapter is a powerful reminder that habit building is not a straight line. It's a dynamic process. Fogg gently reframes failure, not as a personal flaw, but as valuable feedback from your system. If a habit slips, it doesn't mean you're lazy or undisciplined. It means something in the habit recipe needs adjusting. He walks readers through a checklist. Is your anchor reliable? Is the behavior too ambitious? Are you forgetting to celebrate? Has your environment changed? With these questions, Fogg shows how even small tweaks, like adjusting the timing of a habit or finding a better emotional hook, can reignite momentum. He also discusses how to bounce back after disruptions like travel, illness, or emotional stress. His advice is simple but powerful. Lower the bar, not your standards. It's okay to scale down. Doing one push-up is better than skipping your workout entirely. Mastery lies in staying connected to the behavior, even in its smallest form. Ultimately, troubleshooting becomes less about fixing what's broken and more about adapting with grace. Fogg empowers readers to become curious designers of their own behavior, treating each slip not as failure, but as a learning opportunity. Chapter 10. Putting it all together. In the final chapter, Fogg elegantly ties together everything introduced throughout the book. He lays out the complete tiny habits system. Start small. Anchor to reliable routines. Celebrate immediately. Stay flexible. Let growth be natural. He reminds readers that the power of this method isn't in intensity but in consistency. Real transformation doesn't come from sudden overhaul or extreme discipline. It comes from hundreds of tiny moments of success that accumulate over time. It's not about pushing harder, but about feeling empowered and capable. Fogg also gives guidance for expanding your habit library without feeling overwhelmed. He encourages readers to start with just a few habits and add more only when the original ones feel automatic. This protects against burnout and helps sustain the joy of the process. The chapter concludes with a message of hope and realism. You won't always get it perfect, but you don't have to. If you trust the process, tiny truly does become mighty. And in time, your identity shifts. You no longer just do good habits. You become the kind of person who effortlessly lives them.
Conclusion.
In Tiny Habits, BJ Fogg emphasizes that small, incremental changes lead to lasting behavioral transformation. He argues that motivation fluctuates, but anchoring habits to existing routines ensures consistency. By celebrating even the tiniest successes, individuals build confidence and momentum. The book shifts focus from rigid discipline to fostering habits through ease and enjoyment. Fogg's research underscores that simplicity, emotion, and prompt-based triggers are key to sustainable change. Ultimately, Tiny Habits empowers readers to craft a lifestyle shaped by effortless, positive behaviors. His method proves that transformation is not about willpower, it's about designing habits that naturally fit into daily life.
Thank you for joining the Empowerment Library in exploring Tiny Habits by BJ Fogg. If you found this video valuable, please give it a thumbs up and share your key takeaway in the comments below. Subscribe for more insightful book summaries designed to elevate your mindset and productivity. In our next episode, we'll dive into The Millionaire Next Door, a transformative guide to building lasting financial success. Take a moment to absorb today's insights, embrace one idea that resonates with you, and put it into action. Keep pushing forward, stay motivated, and I look forward to our next discussion.